Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Today we have a new story, we have a new storyteller. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Mathilde, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey and welcome.
Thank you, Mustafa. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you for joining. How are you?
I'm good. Things are going well.
Yeah. Where are you now? Because I recently were moving from different cities. So where are you now?
I live in Copenhagen, in Denmark. I moved a year ago.
Oh yeah. Before you were in which city?
Before that, I lived in France, actually, in Nantes, on the west coast of France.
Nice. Yeah. Very beautiful city.
Yeah, it's a nice city, but I have to say I prefer the Nordic cities.
Yeah. So now you feel that you're on the right place or in the right city.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. So you are our storyteller. We would love to know more about you, especially recently, like your work is published everywhere and it's so beautiful to read it. I learned a lot from it. It's very inspiring. So I'm very happy that we are recording this episode. So tell us more about you. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Well, today I'm an illustrator and visual facilitator. So it means I use visuals and illustrations to help people convey a message, amplify their voice, or to help people work together. So it's using illustrations as a bridge between people. But you wouldn't believe it, I started as an engineer, as an engineer and an urban planner. So it's quite a big change right now, but I'm happy for the change. And in the meantime, back when I was in France, I worked as a facilitator in participatory urban planning.
It's interesting that you started your answer with "Today I am." So what's going like what happened yesterday? What's going to happen tomorrow? It's interesting. This is the first time a guest answer me like this.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I think it's a long story, when I come back from engineering. But I like to look at this as pieces of a puzzle that come together, and this is where I'm now. But who knows what I'm gonna do tomorrow? So I don't want to put myself in a box. And
yeah, very very smart answer. So tell us more about you as a person. Like take us back in time. Tell us about your background, childhood, and also how you got in the urban planning and engineering field.
Okay. Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an interiors architect. Actually, I was the kind of kid who likes to move the furniture in their room and organize everything. But
that's why before you continue, sorry for interruption. No. That's why like your background is so well organized, very beautiful colors, like the behind you. Now I see the touch from the childhood.
Yeah, or maybe little Marie Kondo style. I like to organize everything. But my parents said at the time, well, you're good in math, so don't go into something artistic yet. I was also drawing all the time. Do something more scientific first, then it opens doors to many things. So the kind of answer many parents told their kids, I think.
Same here.
Yes. So I did that. I followed engineering studies in civil engineering, and I have to say I was not very good at it. I mean, I managed, but I was not so interested in numbers. And
did you like what you study, or no? You just wanted to finish it?
I guess I liked it because I've always been a school girl, so
Yeah,
doing
okay.
their homework well. But I could sense that it was not the place where I was not very comfortable there. It was not my thing. So, but the more I went, the more I liked it. Urban planning then was very interesting, but I was missing.
How did you get to urban planning? Because you were studying engineering within buildings, I guess, construction or civil
Yes,
engineering.
yes, exactly. So that's a specialization I took in my master's. I first did civil engineering, and then as a bachelor, and then I did urban planning as a specialization. Which was already better because there is a more, global scale, more interesting,
More
but
colors.
still more colors and more, yeah, it's more diverse, I would say. Uh, but then I was still missing something more like the people's perspective that we didn't learn in urban planning. Like, who are we actually making cities for? And yeah, it's not only for numbers and calculations. So I moved to Stockholm where I pursued studies at KTH. So we have this in common, and this was a big eye opener.
What did you study here?
I studied. So it was a 1 year master it was called Urban Studies, but it was a mix of different things with urban sociology, environmental psychology, crime in cities, tools for placemaking, human-centered design. This was great. And also I was the only engineer in the classroom. Everyone came from an architecture background or
And you came say, hello, I'm a
landscape
civil
architecture.
engineer. Anyone
Yes,
wants to help with math?
yes, that was actually very interesting because that's when I could first experience the big difference in how we problem solve and how we approach things. So that was very interesting for me to. That was the first time I had to kind of bridge the gap, between, and I really liked it.
Yeah, you saw that there is a big difference in the mindset and how you think and how the other think because of your bachelor.
Yeah, because we all learn kind of a way to approach things, right? And you have to kind of leave that box later when you start working, because you work with other fields.
Exactly. You're not alone anymore.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but so that was fascinating, and then that's when I realized I wanted to work more with that, like making the city with people, making good cities for people, but also with them. And back then, on the side, I organized a placemaking project on campus at KTH.
Okay, here in Stockholm. Nice.
Yes, this was with. So it was organized together with KTH and a different other partners. Yes.
But tell me which year were you here?
Um, 2017, 2016 and 17.
Okay, because okay, now I understand why I'm not part of this because I was studying in Milan, my Erasmus.
Ah, okay.
Meanwhile, you were doing, okay, now I understand the thing.
Ah, all
Okay.
right.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, all of this happening, I'm not part of it.
Yes. Ah, too bad we didn't meet there. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So you organized this and about placemaking.
Yes, and in the weekends I was also working as a student for Spacescape, which is a Swedish company, just to observe users and uses in public space. And so all of this environment helped me see things differently from my engineering background. Um, and so then when I came back to France, I told myself, okay, I want to work with that.
Yeah. Enough of engineering.
Yes, that's not. I was happy to have this gap for a while, and it brought me a lot, the structure and so on. But I wanted to do something different.
And before you continue your journey, I think you're like a kind of a mirror of my journey because we I experienced exactly the same. I was good in
Mm.
drawing, I was good in math. So and my parents told me, yeah, you have architecture, and you have engineering. You're good in math, do engineering. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
okay, family, thank you so much. I will do engineering. So I went. I did the bachelor like engineering and architecture, but to be honest, like of these 3 years, I didn't like any single day.
Mm.
But then I did the master in KTH, the
Mm-hmm.
Sustainable Urban Planning and Design. And from the first day, I fell in love with it. Like I found my passion, and it's because
Mm.
like it was about people. You do concept. It's a bigger scale, not only numbers. Like it's not how to say. It's not that I'm telling engineering is not good, but it's
No.
good that you follow your passion. Like my friend, he's amazing. He did engineering, and now he's like one of the best in Sweden.
Mm.
But for me, it was not the case. So I think it's this is the message for the listeners. Like if you don't like it, just change it. Like don't listen to. Okay,
Yes, yes.
respect the family, but it's about the long run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally. And yeah, again, I'm not saying this was bad to be an engineer.
But it's not for you.
Same
Engineering is not
as
for
you.
you.
Yeah, it was just not my thing. Yeah.
And I also was like, exactly like you. You mentioned that you were like a what do you call it? A schoolgirl.
A school girl, yeah.
Yeah, I was like also I got A, and also the university gave me a job like to be assistant in the math courses
Ah.
with the
Uh-huh.
professors, but this is not something I like, even like. So is this what you're passionate about, like cities, people, or what is your passion?
um yeah, when I really look at it, so I love cities and people, right? But what I'm really passionate about is to do what I call the inner work, to look at to explore your inner world and try to kind of uh, exactly what we were talking about before, like finding your own journey, knowing yourself better, understanding, okay, what kind of person I am, why do I react in this way in certain situation, and how are my relationships to others. And because the more you work on that, the more you explore that, the more conscious you become in your everyday practice as a professional, but also with your friends and family. And and the reason why I like to organize collaboration so much with cities, but in other settings as well, is that it creates spaces for people to look inside actually, and to be more to dare more, to stop having certain beliefs and kind of become better versions of themselves. So I think it's personal transformation that drives me.
Yeah, so it's like it starts from you, right? Like the inner world within you,
Yes.
and this you try to provide it or to show it to the public through your work.
Yes, yes, totally. And you have many ways to do this in many different fields, but in urban planning, that's why I focus so much on collaboration and working together. So that's a good transition with my job in France, because then when I left Sweden, I I found this job in France, in Nantes, in a consultancy company, and there my job was to be a facilitator between the actors of the city, and it was really a great job.
What did you do? What does it mean?
Yeah, yeah, um, so we were hired by municipalities or public developers, property developers, or social housing corporations who wanted to they wanted help in how to involve the residents and the citizens in their urban projects. So this could be public space or a building or a neighborhood. And they had the plan to involve the residents, but they needed help on how to do that. So we acted as a bridge between the, the residents, the citizens, and the professionals of the city. And we also acted as a bridge between the professionals of the city. So as I said before, between the engineers, the municipality, the architects, the designers, and so on.
That's amazing. So you were the one who was like bridging together.
Yeah, that's what we did, and we were designing those processes because it's a journey, um, and it takes time, of course. And but I really loved the before after, because everyone learns through the process, um, and when it's done well, it really changes your perspective on but maybe now we should do all of our projects in this way, because it makes so much sense to bring people in the beginning.
But also, like you say this because you looked back and you reflected, like you evaluate your process. Because I was part of many projects, and like the project group, they just move to the next project, move to the next project. They
Mm.
really they don't like they don't look at what we did and evaluate. So because of like, they say there is no budget, we should take the next project and so on. So it's nice that you look back and say, okay, this is good, this is what happened, let's take it to the next project.
Yeah, it's like you said, I wouldn't say that all of our clients were as reflective, but some were, and then it's very nice.
And what happened after this job? What was your next station?
So I really liked what I did. I had amazing projects, amazing colleagues, but I was not so happy in Nantes, the city I lived in. I wanted to go back to the Nordic countries.
Why you didn't like? You want snow and cold weather.
Well, there is a belief that in France it's always good weather, but it was raining all the time.
Yeah.
Actually. No, I think it's very personal. It's because, or let me put it this way, the reason why I like to live in Copenhagen now, or I liked to live in Stockholm before, is that I find that there is a great balance between nature and urban life. If you don't have a car, you can just take a bus or a tram or a metro and very easily be in the middle of nature, like around a lake, in the forest, and walking. And to find the equivalent in the cities I've lived in France, you need a car, or you need to really plan it, take a long train and so on. And for me, it's very important. I'm a countryside girl. So for me, it's important to have this balance with nature.
So this is the main element that attracted you to Copenhagen or to Stockholm, like the being close to the nature.
Yes, and because I also lived in Gothenburg 7 years ago for an Erasmus. That's where I met my partner, and we also wanted to be to we don't have children. We wanted to go back to the Nordic countries. And I also, the other reason is I wanted to explore visualization more. I was already drawing quite a lot in my previous job, but I wanted to see, okay, can I push this further?
Yeah, but now you picked a very interesting niche that not so many people on this planet doing it. That's why you're shining now.
Yes, yeah.
So tell me, what do you work with now in Copenhagen?
Yeah, so now I have my own freelance business with illustration and facilitation, and my clients are mostly in France because it's still a bit hard to make myself visible in Denmark. Yeah.
Because of the language?
Yeah, when I arrived, I first tried to look for a job in the same field as before, because this is, what I know how to do. But I realized that Danish was a barrier because, of course, you need to speak to the citizens and in their language, right? So people said, yeah, you have an interesting profile, but of course, first learn Danish and then come back. So I started to learn Danish, but it takes time, but it's going more.
So when did you move? When did you move to Copenhagen?
About a year ago, in April last year.
Okay, not so long time. Okay, yeah. So you started to learn Danish.
Yeah, so I still do that. Very very intensive Danish classes, and many great people who help me speak Danish in small conversations. And at some point, I realized that I was not maybe doing my job search in the right way, because I was sending applications, and here the Danes, they like to go for a coffee. I don't know if it's the same in Stockholm.
It's the same, like it's looking for a job culture. You should be very like, it's not the same as business as usual that you send to 1050 companies your CV. No, it's like life is good, you need to breathe, have a coffee, slowly, it's like building a relationship.
Yeah. Totally. And then I discovered that, and it's kind of changed a bit my strategy, let's say. I met many very, very nice people. Still the problem with the language, but at least I start to build my network, and it's interesting.
And drinking a lot of coffee.
And drinking a lot of coffee. Yes, and so at some point I realized, okay, it's gonna take me some time before I'm fluent in Danish. What can I do in the meantime? And that's when I realized, okay, I have these facilitation skills, these drawing skills. Let's just do that as my job for now, and we'll see where it takes me. And then I went 100% into this because in the meantime, I had done a few illustration tasks and so on, but I always thought, yeah, this is pocket money. This is just before I find a job. And then there was a mindset shift, and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna do this for real.
As a 100% full-time job, let's say.
Yeah.
But what made you change your mindset that this is not something for fun until you find a real job?
It's a good question. I think it's because I realized every time I take my pen and my tablet, I'm having so much fun. When it's like you feel that you're doing something that's, yeah, happiness. So I realized, okay, let's just do that. I can see it's like when I was a little girl and drawing all the time, and my parents said, no, do math instead. No, I'm kidding. I love my parents.
I hope they will not listen to this episode.
No problem. Their English is not that good. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so you feel that this is something you like when you do it.
Yes. So I think this is what made me shift. Yes. In the meantime, I had started my blog, the Urban Mycelium. So yeah, I can maybe talk a bit about that.
Yeah, because now you need to tell me like all the different work you do to me and to the listeners. So it's up to you which story you want to start to tell.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can start with the Urban Mycelium. This is not a job, it's a side thing. It's more to communicate my passion for participation in urban planning. And the reason it's called the Urban Mycelium, do you know what the mycelium is?
No, tell me.
It's actually the root part of mushroom in the forest. Mushrooms have a huge network of roots under the forest floor that you can't see. And there are many studies that show that this mycelium helps trees communicate between each other because it's the roots connect the roots of the trees together. And so they use this to send nutrients or alert signals if there is a danger in the forest. And I love this. I find it so fascinating because I love the forest first, and also it's invisible. It's huge. You can't see it, but it's so important in making the forest grow better, actually.
So it's like underground logistics system.
Yes, totally. And so I use this metaphor, the urban mycelium. So there is no mycelium in city, right? But I use this as a metaphor to talk about the social human dynamics that help make the city.
You mean the hidden social structure or life? Not life, but structure.
Yeah, I'm talking about basically the processes, like placemaking processes, collaborative processes, when people work together to make the city. And because it's important, you can't make a building alone. You can't make a city alone. It's always a group work, right? And when it's made with the population also, it's very important. So I use this to talk about, to bring the light to this.
Yeah. So this is what we see now. Like I saw like placemaking sharing your work, placemaking X, many pages, organizations sharing what your beautiful illustrations. I remember the one of Jane Jacob. I also share it on my podcast because it was super beautiful. So tell us more about like the process. When you get the idea, how do you do that? You publish, and like how is the response from people? Like explain to us, explain to the listeners.
Yeah, so there are different types of processes depending on the article. But when I have an idea in mind for an article, I first draw, because for me it's much easier to draw than to write. It takes me ages to write. So I will first draw what is it that I want to make visible, and then I would fill in the gaps with text, and I publish this. But for example, right now I've started this new series, which is called the Placemakers Visual Stories. And I do that with placemakers in Copenhagen, whose job is to involve the citizens in the making of the city. And I interview them, like we are doing now, and I draw their questions in real time, their answers, sorry, in
Their
real time,
answers, yeah.
to make their work more visible, so that we can grasp what is it to make the city with people. So this is something I do now. So then I draw, and when the call is finished, I have to add a little finishing touches.
Because I believe there is a huge amount of hours to do the research. For instance, the thing about Jane Jake, it was very
Yeah.
beautiful. This is like a master. So tell me, like, how do you do that? Now you explain me like very, very fast, like you draw and so on. But tell me, like, how do you start to collect the data or read and so on?
It's hard to say because it's knowledge I have from my masters in Stockholm mostly. A lot of the articles I take back my notes from my classes back then.
That's nice.
Yeah, so my teachers would be proud of me. Tigran, who you interviewed for this
I
podcast.
love him. I love him. Like,
Yes.
Tigran's amazing.
Yes, he's amazing. And a lot of the information is also based on my experience in my previous job in Nantes, my company. It was called Week One. So yeah, I just take some notes. Then I do extra research sometimes. Yes, yeah, it does take a lot of time, but there is no straight road, I would say.
Like the same methodology that you use, like research, drawing, coloring, publishing, commenting.
Commenting. Yeah, no, it's not always. It varies from one article to the other. Yeah.
How is the, like, do you have a specific number that you say, I want to publish one per week or one per month? Do you have like a goal or no?
At first, I wanted to publish once a month. Then I realized it takes a lot of time, and I had kind of a break last autumn, and then I started again. And with this placemakers visual stories, it's a bit easier. It takes me less time than my normal articles. It depends. It's maybe like you, I don't know, with your process with the interviews, but it depends on how much work I have also on the side and so on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now many people like commenting on your post when you share, reshare, likes, love. What is the response that you get? Because I believe now you feel that the world is starting to notice your work and to see.
Well, I don't know that. I'm a bit uncomfortable with putting the light on myself. I prefer to put the light on this work, this participatory urbanism. And so yeah, there is an answer, and I can see that people like it, and so it shows me that visualization is important to bring more attention to our work, and we are attracted by visuals. We remember images usually more than text in memory, and also with social media and phones and computers and so on, our attention is limited more and more. So we are attracted by images. So yes, I can say that the intersection between urban planning, collaborative urban planning, and visualization is really important.
Yeah. And are there other people doing like a blogging as the same way you do?
With visualization, you mean?
Yeah.
In the specific field of like placemaking, no, I don't think so. If you find one, just send it to me. It
No,
would
I
be
hope
great.
like if we have a listeners, because I know there is like this urban sketchers group, but
Mm-hmm.
they sketch like an existing view, not like
Mm.
illustrating a story or telling a story. I know there are people doing like you, but in other fields, like within leadership or product industry. But
Mm-hmm.
you're I think you're one of the first. So good job. You're opening the way.
Yeah, and I hope there'll be many more to come.
Yeah, of course, of course. You're opening, and many other will be inspired. Tell me, do you get a lot of comments from people?
Um, for now, the comments I get are very positive. People say it helps retain information, see things in a different way. It brings clarity on a topic. It's educative at the same time. Yeah, that's what I get so far. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. No, good, good. This
Thank
is
you.
just the beginning,
Yeah, we'll see where it takes us.
right? Yeah, yeah. So what do you want to do next within your blog? Do you have plans?
No, one thing I did is to some of the articles I have share a tool, a visual tool, and so I just created a section on the blog with the tools that you can download because maybe it can help people to have more, to use more participation in their urban projects. I will continue with these interviews with Danish placemakers because it also gets me to know more Danish people, so that's great. I like it.
Yeah. So do you do it in Danish language or English?
No, English. Yeah, it's I can understand Danish now, but to process what I hear and scribe it visually at the same time it's harder.
And you will continue with the stories and more. You will add a new thing or introduce a new thing or no? Not yet. Not now.
Not now, because the other thing I'm focusing on is my own business. So I'm trying to get more projects in Denmark, and I want to focus on that also. So
Yeah, I am thinking maybe in the future, one time, I want to like to see how can we combine the different storytelling like tools, like podcast,
mm,
what you do, and a story. Like I
yes,
wanted to see what's the effect or what's the result of this. What do you think?
you could interview someone that works with like participation in urban planning. There are many people in the placemaking field and so on. And then I can be here to just draw at the same time. So it's a three-person conversation.
I think people gonna look at your pictures instead of listening to the podcast.
No, it's a mix. It's a mix.
But let's try it. What do you think? Should we do
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Then
would be fun.
I will tell you like about the coming episode. I will find an episode maybe with the placemaking
Yeah,
people.
placemaking Europe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and then we can have this. We can try it and see what's the effect.
yeah, that would be very fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Let's do it. So now you start to talk about your business. So this is the blog,
Hmm.
very beautiful and interesting. Tell me about like your business. What is happening now and so on.
Yeah. So, as I said, I work with visualization and illustration. So there are different levels or different services. First, my intention, as I said before, is to help people amplify their voice, give more impact to their story with the help of drawing. When it's about one person, and if it's a group, visual can help them work better together. So that's two focuses, individual and group. And so in the services I provide, there is visual storytelling. So that could be, let's say you want to, it's quite easy with a podcast, but you want to tell your story, your journey as a podcaster, what took you here, why is it important for you, and so on. I could draw that, and that's your visual storytelling.
And
Um,
is it work like this that I tell you like you're sitting like a psychologist and I tell you the story and you draw,
yeah,
or you do the interview or you interview me and you draw.
I interview you. I'm the one asking open questions, and then I draw your answers. But for this, it's not so much a live exercise as a conversation, and then I work at my home, and then it's like way and back like this. This is not direct.
And this personal story, is it only for people, or you also do like for a company? Let's say I have a company and I want to illustrate the history of the company. Do you do that as well?
Yes, totally. So if I give you an example, for a French client a few weeks ago, she was launching a new offer for, actually she's a facilitator of something called co-development that I also facilitate. And she wanted to launch a new offer for people, and she needed a visual to explain, okay, what are the benefits of this? Why is it important? So I helped her, bring her story to life with this, so that she could launch her offer. Show it. Yeah, that's a way to do it. But there are many different ways to do it.
Yeah. So this is the one, and the other path.
Yeah, the other one is something called graphic recording. So it's scribing live a conference, for example, or an event. So I'm on the side in the room. There is the speaker talking. I'm not interacting with the people. I'm just drawing everything they say on a big picture, so that at the end of the conference, there is also a visual record of what happened. Yes.
Wait, you mean a record? Like, is it a drawing or like something animation moving?
No, that's a drawing.
Okay.
That's a drawing. But you're right. I also do animated videos.
Also.
Yes.
Nice.
With little cartoons.
Yeah.
And another thing I do is visual meeting facilitation. So I'm doing one this afternoon, for example, where there is another facilitator who is here to help the group with the work together, and I'm here to map the milestones of the conversation.
So you need to listen to every single word and feel the atmosphere, right? You need to be there.
Yes, yes, and it can be frustrating sometimes because, of course, you can't write and draw everything. You have to capture the essence and the key points and visualize them. So yeah, you have to be good at listening and synthesizing in your head, and then. Yeah.
Because you're gonna be like a machine, like you need to scan everything and then draw it.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell us like some project that you work with? So explain more in detail to the listeners.
About this one, graphic recording, for example. Yeah. So one I did back in France was there was a conference about what is it called? It was 3 speakers that are engaged in the environment or citizen actions, and they were interviewed to talk about their journey and what made them shift at a moment. Like when did they say, okay, here I got engaged, here I wanted to commit to this cause, and so on. And so there was this, and I was here on the side drawing their journey, drawing their aha moments, kind of. So of course it takes a lot of preparation time with the team. I have to know in advance, okay, who is going to talk first? How many questions do you ask, so that I can build the structure for my picture? And then after the event, I also have to finish the drawing before I send it clean.
So it's not as that easy as it might look like. You just bring your iPad and pencil and draw,
No, actually, the moment on the D-Day is this much of the work. It's not at all. I mean, people can't see, but what's important is the before and the after.
Yeah. Did it happen that you missed some part?
Yes, and that's why it's interesting afterwards when I send it to the team, the people who were asking the questions, for example, and then they can tell me, but there was this thing that was important that maybe you missed, and so then I can just change the drawing, because I usually do it digitally.
Yeah. Do you work with layers, or you draw everything on one layer? How do you work?
With layers, yes.
With layers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's smart. That saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
But do you have, I mean, like, it's interesting now. Do you have the time during the drawing that you create a new layer, or what are your layers?
That's very technical now, but yeah, I would have a first layer that's only the frame, and you can adjust the opacity so that you draw on top. And then for each big part of the discussion, I would add a new layer. So let's say speaker A comes in, I first draw, then speaker B comes in, and that's a
Okay,
new
that's
layer.
smart. So you divide every like story, you have a
Hmm.
layer, so it's easy to change.
Yes. And then you can, if you like technical stuff, you could also have one layer for text and one layer for the little icons. Yes.
Yeah, but also like what you draw is your perception or your image or your understanding of the conversation.
Hmm.
Does it happen that it's matched with the reality, or no, it doesn't match? Do you understand my question?
Yes, yes,
Like what we see on the drawing is your perspective about
of
the,
course. Yes.
yeah. So
And I love your question.
how do we guarantee that what we look at is actually the reality and not
Mm,
your agenda or your what
yes.
you want to show?
I love that question because this is a question I asked myself a lot before I started to do this. And so far, there are two things I think I keep in mind. The first one is, and it's back to when you asked me about my passion. It's to work on yourself and your biases and your beliefs, because we all have classes on our face, like our specific vision of the world. And so everything you say or do or draw is colored by your own perspective of the world. So when I draw something, I actually draw about myself. I draw about what is important for me, or so exactly as you said. And a drawing is not objective; it's subjective, right? So you have to find a balance between being aware of that and at the same time accepting that, yes, a drawing is subjective. So it will always have a specific angle. Um, yes.
And
So,
your touch and your
mhm,
understanding. Mm.
yeah.
But when you send it back to the group, what do they say? They say good job, or no, this is not the way we talked about.
No, usually people will, there will always be little details like, oh, can you change, usually in the text, actually, can you change this word for, but usually the visuals are fine because people are not used to, it's actually very nice to have your thoughts mapped as an image, uh, because it brings clarity for yourself as well. And usually people use a lot of metaphors. For example, they say, oh, it feels like a mountain ahead of me, a mountain of work or something like this. And then you just draw a mountain. You have to grab that metaphor when it comes and draw it. And then people will say, ah, it's true, I talked about a mountain. Yeah. Um, no, usually people will are very happy with the visual.
I think this is also because it's a new way of documenting our
Hmm.
workshops. So people appreciate it as well. And also like it's beautiful, of course.
But it doesn't, I would like to say that it doesn't have to be beautiful. Because I like to,
I mean it's clear or
yeah,
understandable.
yeah.
Otherwise they if I look like let's say I hire you and you draw something, then I cannot understand your visualizations. So of course I will not like it. But so because this is you should also count in that it's what you do is also beautiful
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
clear to the person
Hmm.
to other people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are the challenges that you are facing when you're doing this?
Mm, usually it will be, but it's again very personal challenges. It will be the stress I have not to miss something, to miss something important, um, or not to have the right image, or to make something that doesn't look good.
Okay.
But then I remember that it's not what's important. What's important is to help bring clarity with visuals and communicate a message. And so it doesn't have to be perfect. So that's one, and the other one is maybe to find more clients here.
In Copenhagen?
In Copenhagen, yeah. For now, it has to be in English, but yeah.
Because your niche is more about urban planning and participatory planning and design.
Not so much in my business, because in the blog, yes, but in my business, I've had projects related to urban planning, and I start to have some here in Copenhagen. But I also do things that are totally different, like for clients that work with that are coaches or that work with transformation that are not easy to grab, that are not tangible. So I help them make this visible, but then it's not urban planning.
Yeah, because I was thinking like because this is not very common within our industry like field, but let's say now I see other companies start to use it a lot. So you're not only specific doing this for urban planning or architecture.
No, I think there are other people like me who do that.
Yeah, because we had I'm part of TEDx Stockholm, and we organized the event, and before the pandemic we had an event, and there was a woman doing also like this visualization, and it was very interesting. Like everybody appreciated what she did, and we could follow the story of the day, so it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and then you keep a memory of your big day. So
yeah, exactly. I was thinking like, because you talked about the fear of that you miss the details or something during the workshop. Do you record like audio or something that you go back, or no, you're not allowed?
It depends on the situation. For example, with the placemakers visual stories that I drew for the blog, I record, because then it's just me and them, and it's not like you when you share the audio. I can just go back and then listen to their voice again if I missed something. So yes, I record them. But if it's for a client, an external client, there is only well, if it's online, most things are recorded now. So
What are other challenges that you're facing? Are there other?
I would say one, which is to put myself out in the world. For example, this exercise here, talking with you, is not an easy exercise for me.
But you're doing very good.
Thank you. But yeah, it's putting myself on social media and so on is something I have to learn.
You mean like a brand yourself, market what you do?
Yeah. Talking about what I do, sharing my projects. It's not something so easy for me, so I have to learn that.
I see recently like you got a lot of how to say, traffic to your profile and to your blog, right?
Yeah, and I would say it's also thanks to the visuals, because people, if you want to have more traffic on the podcast or anything you do, bring visuals. Also photos and so on, because people like visuals and they like stories.
Yeah.
So
Like how I started to follow you is because, like in our community, let's say placemakers, but also urban planners and so on, we don't have such like we usually what we see people like do the regular job, they go to office, they work with a project, and that's it. But sometimes you see like stars or talents like or somebody else with doing blogs or vlogs, or somebody else doing some other artwork. So this is interesting, and there are not so many. So I think you're gonna grow more if you keep do what you do now and develop it. So don't I think like you already have a good base of followers or attention in the market, but you just need to keep doing like
yeah,
doing it every day, every day, every day. I mean, like, be there every day.
but I would say that that's not my intention to have more followers, but what I want is to bring attention to this niche, which is participation in urban planning, and to
Yeah,
encourage more people to do that.
I mean
And
I
if
mean I
if I
mean
manage to do that, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, as many followers, it means like your voice is out there as well, you know? Like,
Mm.
so many followers is a good thing as well, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
can say that.
Yeah. So we have many listeners from like in this podcast from more than 120 countries.
Mm.
And if I want to take the opportunity to ask you, if they want to start to visualize
Mm.
like their work, their ideas, their stories, what is like your advice to them? How should they think? If you give us like very simple, like one, two,
Yeah,
three of methodology.
yeah. So first thing is you don't have to be good at drawing. It's actually you have to build your own visual vocabulary based on very simple shapes like circles, squares, a little line, and to start to make icons that are relevant to your industry. So, for example, a building, you just do a little rectangle, tiny dot to represent the windows, and that's it. For a little guy, you can just do a little circle, like half circle, and a dot on top for the head, and that's it. You don't have to make something look complex. People will understand. The simpler, actually, the more people will understand. So build your vocabulary. I can show you here, but people won't see. But it can be as simple as little icons. And if you don't know where to find them, just type in on Google like icons, urban planning, and then just try to copy those. Train until you can do them, and then maybe try to use them more in your communication with your colleagues. It can be around a coffee when you want to communicate an idea, like this is important for me, let me show you, and you take a paper and you try to use this in your conversations. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you will become. And then you can also use it in your presentations. And
So it's about practicing. Start doing it and practicing.
yes, it's about practicing. Yeah. And then I would also recommend, if you want to go further with that, to do trainings. You have many trainings to begin with. It's called visual facilitation, mixing text and images. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the you mentioned in the beginning you have a tool on your homepage, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What was it about?
So there is one on the blog, which is a matrix, the apple tree matrix. It's one of the articles I shared, which is called the quick wins or something like this. And it's a tool to help you prioritize which ideas you want to start with first. So you have two axes, like low effort, high effort, low impact, high impact. It's well known. And then you take the apple tree, because the apples that are easy to grab are the low hanging fruits. You should start with those because they have a low effort but high impact. And then you have those on the floor that are a bit rotten. Don't use them, and so on. So
That's beautiful. Can you send me the link later so I put it in the
yes,
episode description?
yes. And there is another tool which is on my website. I can also send you the link afterwards. This is a poster you can use as an icebreaker in any meeting you have with your colleagues or with other partners. And it represents a boat with little guys on it in very different situations. So one is climbing on the mast, another one is at the front of the boat, another one is drowning in the water. And you can use that to start a conversation like, on this urban project, where do you feel we are at? And maybe you will have someone who says, guys, I'm in the water, I don't know where we are, I have too much work. And another one could say, oh, I'm on the boat, I feel fine. And so from this, it helps visualize, make visible how people feel about a situation. And then you can start having a great conversation about this.
I love it. I will download this actually and print it to put it here. This is
Yeah.
beautiful. This is very beautiful.
You have to tell me afterwards how
Yeah,
it
yeah.
went.
I think all the people gonna be under the water.
Oui.
No, that's interesting. I love also that you share. This is very important, that you share
Mm.
your knowledge and not only keeping it for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, you give a value to your followers or listeners.
Mm. This one, the boat was made together with a fellow facilitator. He had the idea and he asked me to draw it. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's very beautiful.
mhm.
So tell me, like in the business, what is going to happen? What is next for you?
Mm, what is next?
Are you under the water or are you gonna climb on the boat?
Well, I would say I'm where I am in the water. I'm climbing on the mast. Actually, I'm getting there. You know, I have set up some actions. I meet many people here. I also do a lot of volunteering work, which helps me meet other people, connect, and so on. So I have good hopes that I will have more projects soon, and uh, yeah, my idea is just to get started and have fun in what I do.
Yeah, amazing. I wish you all the good luck, and I'm really happy to follow your journey and to see the interesting progress that you're doing. So well done.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Your famous phrase. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, exactly. So you also, like, when we start to talk before we record this episode, you told me about the collective intelligence.
Hmm?
Can you tell me and tell the listeners more about what do you mean by that?
Yeah. It's just a word that's you. I mean, everyone has a set of skills and personal experience beyond their professional cap. And when you bring people together, you can go much further. You can solve problems in a more creative way than if you were alone. So that's what it means, collective intelligence. It's to bring people together and help them work, move forward together, so that they find creative solutions, they take action, and so on. But it's also not just putting people around the table. Otherwise, when you just do that, it will usually, I'm sure you've seen it before, it will be usually the same ones who talk, and the ones who are a bit more shy, they have maybe great ideas, but they keep them for themselves because they don't like the group setting and so on. So when you have a facilitator, someone like me, who come and help the discussion, make sure that everyone is heard and seen in the group, and that there is an intention, which is maybe like find ideas or clarify something. Then that's what collective intelligence is.
Wow, that's amazing. Now I have a question actually to you, because usually when we work as architects or planners, like city development, we usually say, when we have the project, we say we have a workshop with 20 people, 25. Maybe one of us is gonna be the facilitator. But
Mm,
what I see now, like being a facilitator, it needs like a competence, experience, like it's also a profession. It's
yes.
not just like, okay, but maybe sign it to Mustafa. He can do be the
Mm,
facilitator, because there is a kind of skills needed, right? So we have to start.
yes.
My point is, we have to start like to show respect that we have
Mm,
this position or this role in the workshop. Exactly, like I am an urban planner, then there is a facilitator. What is your
mm.
reflection about this?
Yeah, you're right. And I think what I didn't say is that the facilitator is also a neutral person, someone outside the organization, so that you don't take party or take part in the discussion. That's best if you are someone who is external. But you have also more and more people inside companies who are trained to be the facilitator, and that's fine as long as the rules are clear. But yes, it takes. Some people have these skills naturally. I mean, but it's not only skills; it's also a process that you have to guide your group through, and it takes preparation. And yeah, so I would say it's not something you just do like that.
Yeah, yeah, you cannot just assign your colleague to be a facilitator, or you jump
you
or
you
you jump
can
in.
You can, but
I
you
mean,
will
you
always go
can, but
further. You will always achieve better results if you get an external facilitator.
yeah. Then you see like it costs money, then you skip it.
Yes,
You do it.
yes, right.
Yeah. So we go back again to the question. So what do you see yourself now if you put titles on your next to your name? What
Hmm.
titles you put?
Um, Visual facilitator and illustrator. That's what I use now.
Because there is a
Do you want me to explain?
yeah. Tell me like the difference between like
Yes.
vis like
So
visualization and illustration.
illustration, it's something I can do at home. I'm not in front of a group. I can when I illustrate your story, I will talk about it with you, and then I can just do that on my computer, and I illustrate. Visual facilitation, it's using visuals to help a group discussion. So taking the role of the facilitator, but using also visuals to help the discussion go further. So it's a group setting. That's why I use both. And also illustration is more figurative. It's more like Jane Jacobs drawings. It's really lots of details, colors, and so on. Comic book style, but the visual facilitation can be very simple icons. Just a sun. I mean, things very easy because it's not about making something look nice. It's about helping the conversation go smoother and yeah.
Yeah, make things clear.
Totally. Yeah.
Which one you love most to do?
Mm, yeah, good question. There are pros and cons in each.
Of course.
I'm a big introvert person, a very like calm person, so I like those moments when I draw at home because it's meditative almost.
Yeah, you sit by your own self and
Yes.
alone with your notepad.
Yes. So that fits my personality, but
Yeah.
the down is that yes, then you are a lot by yourself. And the visual facilitation is it's more I like when things look nice, so it's more less comfortable for me because it's not about making things look nice, but it's really more gratifying when you see how helpful it is for the group.
People within our field, like architects, planners, asking for such kind of facilitation, or because we work a lot with diagrams, visionary
Mm-hmm.
images, 3D modeling, so we understand this. We understand
Mm.
what you do. But do you see these people or this community or this field are asking for such or open to have this kind of
Mm.
facilitation?
Well, in my previous job, we were doing this a lot to work at as a bridge between architects, designers, engineers, and so on. But it was more like a side request for them. They were first asking us to come to involve the citizens, and then as a result, we were also helping them work better together. So yeah, it's a good question you're asking. Usually, it will not be. They will not ask a facilitator just to make the work better, because as you said, usually, I mean, there are tight budgets, there are deadlines to meet, and it's still seen as something that slows things down and has more cons than pros, let's say, which is also why I draw to show the benefits that these things have, right?
Exactly. When you draw, do you communicate it with the public or only with the experts within this field? Like, do you try to make it very simple?
mm, are you talking?
Like the language you use, and the illustrations.
Uh, it will depend on the context. If it's for a client, I will. It will depend on what the client wants, but if it and on the conversation, if it's like for a strategic planning for the company, maybe they want to keep it like inside the company for sure. If it's to communicate about their, I don't know, their values or a project that they want to communicate that outside the company, so then Yeah, it depends on the company.
Yeah. And like on your blog, which group are you targeting?
Okay. Uh, I'm targeting urban practitioners. Um, it can also be students who are interested in participatory urban planning, but mostly urban practitioners who work with public participation and would like to know more about like what are the backstages or how it can, yeah, to show that it's more than just putting people together with post-its and so on. Yeah, so people like you actually I'm targeting.
Yeah, you hit your target, so I'm following you. And tell me, do you have like a favorite illustration or yeah, illustrate you call it illustration?
In the things I did.
Yeah, like something you're very proud of and you love it.
Yeah, I would say the comic about Jane Jacobs. Um,
Yeah, it's really
it's
good.
because it actually has a story. The style is inspired by a French comic book uh, that's called in English Shameless, and by Penelope Baggio. She's a illustrator, and she drew a couple of years ago already a comic book with many portraits of inspiring ladies in the world that are dead or not, alive or not, and who were brave to change things like in the field of science or very different fields. And I love this comic book. I can also send you the link for the thing in English.
Yes, please. Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I in my field, I love Jane Jacobs. I would like a comic book of her also. So I contacted my favorite illustrator. I I
Wow,
sent her
really nice.
a letter by the mail, like old fashioned.
Wait,
Uh,
like so you wrote it down on paper?
yes, because she doesn't have a. You can't contact her like that. You know, she's a bit famous now in France, so you can't just contact her like that. So you have to write a letter, and then I printed this comic I had done, and I said, "Listen, I love your work. I have made this comic, but I was inspired by your style. So, can you tell me, is it okay that I publish it on my blog?" And then she answered by the mail saying,
Really?
"Yes, yes,
Like
do
wait,
it.
wait,
It's
paper or email, like digital?
paper."
When was this? Like, is it 2000 or
Yes, it
or
was
before
last year.
century?
Last year, yeah.
Wow, this is so nice.
And so I was so happy because she's my favorite illustrator in France, and yeah, I felt like a kid at Christmas, like, oh, she wrote to me, so nice.
Yeah, she answered me. Yeah, that's very big. Good job.
So then I published the story, and I also love the story.
Yeah, and then I just reshared.
Yes. Thank you for that.
You know you did all this work and I just come like, hey, I will reshare.
So
But tell
that's
me,
nice.
I'm thinking like you can print it as a book. What do you think?
Just like one thing.
Like a very simple book,
Mm.
you know. Like there are these books um, that have I don't know 15 pages about
Mm.
something. Like this varies. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what I wanted to tell you. Like, think about it. Maybe because you're gonna have a lot of illustrations and with different topics, then you can put stuff together and publish.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think people will buy it because, especially from our field, because there are not so many like yours.
Mm.
Usually we read books like I guess Tigran like this, like with so many pages and text and text and text. Like we used to that kind of books. But when we're gonna see your book, it's illustrations, it's something different. So we're just gonna be like something
Mm.
cool to have and to read. So think about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. That's a long term project. Mm.
Exactly. But then you should write like, thank you, Mustafa, for suggesting this.
Yes, yes, I will.
No, I really love really love what you do, and I'm happy that we have this conversation now. Me and the listeners like explore more about the person, behind
Mm.
these illustrations, because
Yes,
you don't talk so much about yourself. So now we need to
yes.
to know more about you. Now we are in the final section of this episode.
Mhm.
It's gonna be more about your relation to the city.
Mhm.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, what should urban planners stop doing in cities?
Um, um, I think I will answer with like what they should start doing also.
It's up to
Uh,
you. Because
yes.
the question are there like, what should we stop and what should we start
Mm.
to do?
So yeah, what I've seen so far is that for a long time, for decades, we were making cities more like for cars and so on. This is what Jan Gell said and so on. But there is a shift already. We're starting to make cities more for people, like at the city at eye level, human scale, integrating nature as well. So this is changing. We're still doing a lot of the bad stuff, like for cars and so on, but it's changing. And what I would like urban planners to do more of is to continue doing the city for people, but also with them, and to systematically integrate them into urban planning processes, because they have so much to bring to the projects. They are the experts in how they use the city every day. You know, in your neighborhood, like you take your bike every day, you know that this corner is dangerous or that there is a hole in the pavement there. So if we bring your knowledge and experience early enough in the project, then we avoid making mistakes and we can make better projects. So that's what I would do more, making the city with people.
And what skills should we learn as urban planners?
Um, so collaboration, but we already know how to collaborate, but kind of by force because we have to work with other fields. But maybe explore that more. It's fun to collaborate, and it comes with, when you collaborate, you learn extra skills like open-mindedness, tolerance, empathy also, because you put yourself in other people's shoes. So yeah, and adaptability maybe. I find that a lot of the big, large-scale projects we make today are for like 20 years, 30 years in the future from now, and things are moving so fast these days. You wonder, like, is something that we plan today for tomorrow already not obsolete? I mean, it's maybe going to be outdated by then. So why maybe we do things more, iterative, but it's hard, of course.
Yeah. And if you can add one rule in our policies in all the cities, or if you introduce one thing or add one element in all our cities, what will you add?
Mm. This is maybe a bit too childish, or not childish, but too hopeful, or I don't know. But last year I took a course in change management called Theory U. It's change, how to handle change,
What's the
and
name?
with Theory U.
Okay.
And within this change process, there is one step which is called sensing, and it's a step in which you have to kind of spread your bubble, try to go to the edge, to stretch your own bubble, and to see the world in the eyes of a different person that is really very different from you. And it's an exercise that is called an empathy walk or something. You have to talk to a person that is totally different from you, and try to see the world in their own eyes. And when you do that, you reflect a lot, you change, you question your beliefs and so on. So this is what I would like all one thing I would change in city is actually one thing I would change in the field of urban planning. I would ask every professional in the field of urban planning to regularly do this exercise, because you learn so much, uh, and then you make better cities when you have this approach.
This is very interesting. Theory U.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds like a name of a movie.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
At least
interesting.
at least for me. Yeah. Very interesting. Seems like you're a lot about awareness and understand what you do and what you shouldn't do and so on.
Yeah, I really like that. Mm. I'm a personality development nerd.
That's good. That's very good. What is your favorite? Where is your favorite public space and why?
Um, I'll pick one in Copenhagen. Um, I'll say Islandsbrygge. That's in the harbor of Copenhagen. It's a public space that has been built by big architects. It's a wooden platform, and the reason I love it is that people go there to swim, just to hang out with friends. There is also a place where you can do sports, and all of this is for free. And people respect it. There is no, tags and so on, and people love it. It's facing the sun. I mean, I like this place because it recreates a connection with the water. And for me, coming from the ocean in France, it's so important for me to, yes.
This is perfect. Yeah. And I think this was one of their first famous projects, right? If I'm not,
Hmm.
I think so.
Maybe I wouldn't.
Maybe
I
I'm not
wouldn't know.
sure, not sure. But I remember I read his book, and this one was one of their first like that got really
Hmm.
attention and popular. It's very beautiful.
Have you been there?
No, actually not. Maybe no. I was not. No, not there actually.
Next time you come to Copenhagen, you tell me and I show you.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, like now you mentioned the tags and the graffiti. What is your reflection? You work with visualization.
Hmm.
When you see the tags, how do you react?
Actually, it depends. You have this kind of murals in the city sometimes that are really beautiful.
Yeah, these are more systematic and programmed, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they assign it to people, to
yeah,
professionals. But like the normal, what you see in the city.
yeah. Well, sometimes I mean it usually makes me a bit like sad if it's on, I don't know, something. My first belief is that, oh shit, I mean, why ruin this space or something? And then I also see it as it's a personal way of expressing for people who do that. So maybe a good idea would be to have specific places where they can go wild and share their messages in specific places,
Mm.
and then leave other places nice
Clean.
and clean. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Interesting.
What
Mm.
is your perspective on
No,
that?
I have like different feelings. If they are like, how to say, I don't like the what when I say it's very bad words or something like this, or like three letters, or sometimes people just write letters that we don't understand, but they understand because they have their own language, and they want to show that they were there. I think, yeah, it's very sad when you see it on the beautiful facade, like because it's disturbing. Sometimes, but sometimes, like when I see if it's like beautiful or a specific ornament or like very beautifully done, and I think this is okay. This here
Mm,
was a person they wanted to express, and they did put a lot of time on it. And yeah, why not leave it? But when I see like one letter, and it's
mm,
very messy, then I'd be like, no, this is not really.
mm,
I remember when I went to Milan, like here in Stockholm, we don't have so much like within the city center because they say they clean it and so on. So you see the facade is very clear. Then
mm.
I went to study abroad in Milan, and like for me, it was like I wanted to see a facade without a graffiti.
Mm.
That the one the area close to the university. So I was like, oh, what is this?
Yes. Ah,
So I start
interesting.
to appreciate more like the clean facade and so on.
Mm.
So, if I ask you again or a new question, where is your favorite city?
Yeah, I will say Gothenburg, actually, in Sweden, because this is where I met with my partner more than 7 years ago, and this was my first Nordic country, yeah, and city, and I loved. It's what I said in the beginning. I loved the balance between nature and the city, and it's also a middle-sized city. It's not as big as Copenhagen or Stockholm, so I like it because, again, I am a countryside girl, so this is good for me.
That's very beautiful. So you should come back to Sweden.
Yes. No, don't say that to my partner. And he really likes.
He's Swiss.
No, he's Belgian, from the
Okay.
Flemish part.
Okay.
But we are
What is
no, no,
what
we
is
are very
what is his name?
Peter Jan.
Peter Jan.
Yes.
Yeah, Peter Jan. If you're listening to this, you should move like to Gothenburg and bring back. You should like come back to your beautiful time and make it happen again here. So yeah, next week, welcome to Gothenburg.
Nice. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a
Us-
bad time at home tonight.
yeah. Congratulations. Tell me, is this your hobby or you have other hobbies now?
Yeah, my hobbies are I love the sea. I love to swim actually, so I swim a lot. Um, right now I have this challenge. I put myself to do a Nordic bath once a week. So the water is still cold here. So I do like the Danes. I go in the water in the harbor, and I try to stay for a minute or a bit more. And it's really hard, but it's really fun at the same time.
Wait, for our international listeners, explain it more. Like, give them the details.
Yes, so I take my towel and I go by bike, like 5 minutes away from here. I I'm in my swimming pants. I go in the water. There are lots of places where there is a little steps you can just go down.
It's
The
a
water is
frozen,
clean.
right?
No, it's not frozen.
Like, but super cold, or
Yeah, it's super cold. I don't know exactly how much it is now. Maybe between 5 and 8. I don't know. And then I go down on the steps and I try to breathe, like to try not to stress too much, because if you think about it, you're just gonna leave, but you have to try to manage the pain.
yeah, theory youth stuff, huh?
Yeah. No, it's just I like it.
Yeah. So you start to do this every week?
Yeah, every week. But you have people go crazy here to do that every day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah. So you have this as a like now it's a new hobby for you.
Yeah, it's a new routine I put myself, but beyond that, I like to go for drinks with friends, walk in parks, discover new cozy cafes here in Copenhagen. Uh,
Do you feel now it has been 1 year since you moved to Copenhagen? Do you feel now like you are part of the society, or no, you still feel that you're not really integrated?
hmm, mm, I'm not fully integrated because as long as I don't speak fluent Danish, I will have this impression. But I did a lot to meet people here. I went for many coffees with Danes when I arrived, and through my Danish class, I also took cultural classes to understand the culture here. Um, so I feel home, I would say, um, but I'm still French, but I feel home. Yeah,
So you need just this part of the language until you feel yourself like really super home, like you're
yeah,
really home, sweet home.
yeah. I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you manage now to talk in Danish or just
Yeah.
understand?
No, I can, like, if I go to the grocery store or if I order food and stuff like that, I do everything in Danish. I can have small conversations with Danish friends who are patient enough to, not cringe every time they hear a bad pronunciation. Um, but yeah, I can have
That's nice.
daily encounters in Danish.
Do you also feel like, because I heard it from many of my friends, they say like people in Scandinavia, they are cold socially. And now you're like, I don't know if I call it the south of Europe, but do you feel that people here in Scandinavia, they are cold and not real open? What is your experience?
No, I never had this impression. Um, I actually think that we all have, inside a soul country that is not our home country, but where we feel more at home than our home country. And 7 years ago, when I moved to Gothenburg, I really felt like home, and I thought the people were super nice, very open-minded, respectful, and it matches my personality, and I didn't feel they are cold. What can be hard though is to make deep, true friendships with Swedes or Danes. But once you're a friend with a Swede or a Dane, it's forever.
Or me and my friend, we usually say it's like they're like a mafia, you know?
Mhm.
It's hard to get in, but the time you're in, it's easy to access all the network and everything.
Yes.
I'm very happy to talk to you. It's very joyful.
Yeah.
And we're almost in the end of this episode. As I told you, I'm looking forward that we collaborate and we keep the conversation.
Mhm.
And hopefully also see you maybe in Stockholm or in Copenhagen.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, so our last 2 questions for this episode. The first one is about you. Give me and the listeners 3 takeaway messages.
Of the conversation.
Yes, books.
So the first one would be that by now, I hope I've made it clear that it's not because you can't see it that it doesn't matter. And so in our field, we often focus on the buildings and the built environment, but not enough on the process, the human process that gets us there. And so this is also important, and remember to bring this in the light. And visualization is a good way to do that. So that's the first thing. The second one is that you can also use visualization as a bridge to help you communicate with other people. So if you're an urban planner or an architect out there, start to use little drawings, little icons, just to smoothen out your conversation with other practitioners, and you will see that it brings clarity and alignment in the conversation. And the third one is that we are big fans of stories. Humans, they crave stories. And we are in need for positive stories for our cities. There are not enough stories of us, turning things around for the better and creating urban environments that are great, that are sustainable, that have handled the climate crisis, and where everyone feels safe and happy. And we need images to imagine that, because it helps us imagine and visualize how it could be. So yes, visualization is important in our field, and start to use it.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Very interesting and inspiring takeaway messages. And now the last question. You will ask it to us. What is your question to us, listeners?
So maybe start by looking at your own practice as an urban professional or researcher, and identify a space where it's a bit fuzzy. You have a hard time explaining what you do, and you take a lot of hand gestures and so on. Focus on that, and then take a paper and a pen, and don't mind if it's not pretty. Try to represent what you want to say. And then share it with Mustafa on the Urbanistica podcast. And I'm sure it will bring clarity to what you do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for what you do, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you for having me today. It was great.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.